Awesome. And historic in a way, historic. 10 years ago, when I was covering the BilderBergs in Versailles, in France, in Paris, we had about 5 or 6 of us. And it's just wonderful to see how this movement for truth and exposing criminal activity going on right across the NATO countries and other parts of the world, but particularly NATO is up there. It's great to see you all. Please give yourselves all a round of applause just for being here, please. Woo! Thank you. First, okay, a little bit about me. First of all, I started my life in aviation, family business, and then I worked as a journalist for about 3 or 4 years, and a researcher and a reporter at the BBC. I worked at Great London Radio for a while when it was good, before it became BBC for London. I noticed they elbowed out Danny Baker recently, which is absolutely disgusting. It's the kind of thing the BBC seems to do nowadays. People who raise our spirits alone in the BBC. But anyway, then I went on to do land rights activism, but after the BBC, when I came across these guys, alarm bells rang. And alarm bells rang for one main reason, and that's because I discovered the first chairman, Prince Bernhard of the Netherlands, that's from 1954 up to the mid-1970s, had been an SS officer before World War II. He joined the SS. So BilderBerg, its first 20 years, was being chaired by a former SS officer. This immediately rang alarm bells for me, as I'm sure it does for many people who haven't been told that, and also other journalists. But what we've got up on the mountain there, really, is like a convention of Bond villains, all in the same room, all at the same time. Just think about one Bond film after another. That's what the atmosphere in these places is like. I spoke to Versailles, I spoke to the Greek finance minister who came out of the meeting. Of course, someone that wanted to come out now couldn't do it. He came out of the meeting, he said the atmosphere in there is toxic, and anyway, the cigarettes are too expensive. So he'd come out onto the streets of Paris to have a chat with us. And what happened afterwards to Greece? So the politicians who are in there don't believe that they're always happy about being there. I think the characteristics have changed a bit over the years. Anyway, they're darkening our world. It's almost like a cloud, a balloon cloud coming across. Today the cloud's shining because we're here. But these guys are bringing clouds across. They're darkening Europe with corruption. It's like Europe and the United States and NATO countries are becoming like a kind of massive banana republic where everything is just done for a few leaders and democracy is being crushed. They're capturing our main political parties with money, with donations. Now I actually think, as in some other countries, what we need to do is make sure that political parties, if they get our vote, with that comes some cash to fund them, that they don't get influence from outside, from private business and banking, to do what they want, but to do what we want. If we vote, some cash should come to whatever the party is standing, if a party is standing. We've got to take the money out of politics, not just here. Another thing, when we heard that this meeting was going to take place, there's now a whole bunch of people out there around the world who look into, and particularly Charlie and Giorgio, that discovered that this meeting was taking place here. 2 days afterwards, the newly elected Police and Crime Commissioner for Hertfordshire announced he wanted to see more citizens' arrests in Hertfordshire. His name is Mr. Lloyd. More citizens' arrests. Maybe he was talking to us. Because criminality is massive up on the hill, particularly HSBC, money laundering, leaving piles of bodies on the outskirts of Mexican villages who resist the drug cartels. Now, HSBC were running those cartels cash around in their armoured vehicles and specially preparing little notches in the banks in Mexico to accept suitcases full of cash. This is HSBC. If you've got an HSBC account, would you like to put up your hand? Hong Kong Shanghai Bank. But anyway, think again maybe about supporting that kind of money laundering and criminality from HSBC. Obviously we've got the war criminals too. But David Cameron had to come yesterday, didn't he? I was surprised to see that he actually announced it. Why didn't he just come in the back door? Well, maybe there's some pressure on him internally to actually tell us what he's really doing. But the point there is that Cameron is the arbiter of the parliamentary code, the only person that can make decisions about whether someone has broken that code and should be suspended from Parliament over too much secrecy or not enough accountability in their activities is David Cameron. And David Cameron has broken his own code by going into this meeting. Now that code might seem like a bit of a boring thing. In the United States, it's called the Logan Act. And anyone who's a senator or a congressman in the US who goes into a BilderBerg conference there, that is then a criminal offence. That was one of the first things that they instituted in the US Marcus Agius from the BBC, married to the daughter of Evelyn de Rothschild, lives just over the hill. This is Rothschild country, isn't it? Rothschildshire, Hertfordshire is known as. Marcus Agius had to leave the BBC end of last year because he was a Bilderberger, but most importantly because he was implicated in the LIBOR scandal. And this is a scandal, a massive fraud of everybody that is buying pensions right across Europe and particularly here in the UK, but other parts of the world, but it was based in London. And the main LIBOR criminal was a guy called Rain Man, a guy called Tom Hayes, but he was called Rain Man because he was a bit socially inept. Now, he was the broker that did all these crimes. The fact of the matter is he's still in Britain, even though he's wanted in the States, because apparently he's talking to the police about the real criminals, that is, these people who hired him. They knew exactly what was going on. One change of job, when I think it was when he was hired by UBS Bank, in his bank account he got $3 million just as a signing fee in one day. Tom Hayes. Check him out, the Rain Man. We may be seeing more from him in the future. I know he's worried because much has come out about all the stuff he's told the Met about the criminality of the top bankers. And his girlfriend has started tweeting a couple of weeks ago a bit about how nervous he is. So see if you can find Tom and interview him about the real crimes. Don't just leave him to the Met. We can't necessarily trust that to then go through the system and for there to be prosecutions. But why do I mention the BBC and Marcus Agius? Because we have a dearth of investigative journalism in this country. I mean, I'm not prepared to just apply for a job if it's there. I just get on and do it anyway and then try and sell the work. But does anyone here remember somebody called Roger Cook from the Cook Report?
Yep.
The Cook Report was actually, we used to watch it. You know, British people, it's the most popular current affairs programme ever on British television.
Yeah.
And 10 million viewers a week would tune in to watch Roger Cook. Roger would have made mincemeat of these guys if he'd have known about them at the time. Roger Cook was taken out by, let me hear you, no?
He's been silenced. Tech problems. No power. Woo! this corner.